Hi everybody, I'm Brandy with Brandy Bakey Cakey. I'm here to show you today how to make simple Fruity Pebble macarons. For the Fruity Pebble macarons, you're going to need 120 grams of almond flour, 200 grams of powdered sugar, 55 grams of regular sugar, 110 grams of room temperature egg whites. We're going to use half a teaspoon of vanilla and about 10 grams of crushed up Fruity Pebbles. The first step in the macarons is we're going to whip the egg whites, the sugar, and the vanilla together until we get it to a stiff peak stage, and that takes about 2 minutes, and this is how we do it. You put your egg whites in first, and you just want to whip it for just a second till it starts getting kind of foamy. And once you get to that point, you're going to slowly add the sugar or it will deflate your egg whites. Just about a teaspoon at a time. And once we get all the sugar in, we'll add the vanilla. Okay, and now just half a teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, now we're going to turn it on high and whip them until we get to stiff peak stage. Okay, now that we've got the egg whites and sugar beat to a stiff peak, we're ready to move on to the next step. And you know you're at the stiff peak stage when you pick it up and all your little peaks stay standing up. So the next step, we're going to take the egg whites that are at stiff peak, and we're going to combine the powdered sugar, the almond flour. We're just going to whisk them together a little bit. And then we're going to add just a little bit of the Fruity Pebbles. About 10 grams is about 2 tablespoons. There we go. Okay. And just whisk it together. And now we're going to add the egg whites. Okay, so we're going to add our egg whites to our almond flour and powdered sugar mixture. And we're going to fold them together gently, because if you steer too hard, you're going to deflate your egg whites, and you don't want to do that. And basically, you just scoop down to the bottom and come up to the top slowly, and it usually takes a minute or two. And when you get to the, I call it the ribbon stage, it's when you pick up your spatula and it looks like a ribbon flowing off of your spatula. We're almost ready, and what you want to look for is when I pick up the mixture, and if I'm able to do a figure 8 without it breaking, it's ready. So we are right where we want to be. So you want to quit mixing, because the more you mix, the thinner the batter will get, and that will be trouble. The next step is we're going to put our batter into a piping bag, and we're going to pipe out about 1.5 inch circles onto the parchment paper. You can buy parchment paper that is made for macarons, and they have the circles already printed on the paper. You can also get silicone mats. I don't like the silicone mats personally. I prefer the parchment paper. So now what we're gonna do, and you might think it's kind of silly, but the way I measure mine is I count to 3 seconds on each macaron, and I'll show you. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The next step is, after you've piped them out, you want to tap your trays. This will get air bubbles and air pockets out of them before you bake them. And you just simply drop them, and you can see that it has caused the little air pockets to pop. Now, we're just going to sprinkle a few fruity pebble crumbs on the top to make them pretty. Okay, so now the next step is just waiting 30 minutes. You need to let the macarons sit for about 30 minutes, and what that will do, it will allow them to get sort of a film across the top, and what that does is when they're baking, they won't spread out this way, they'll rise up this way, which creates the little foot, and that's what you want to see. If you do not let these rest, they will spread out and it will be a huge mess. Okay, so the macarons, I bake them at 290 degrees, and I have the oven preheating while the macarons rest. So while the macarons are resting, we're going to go ahead and get our filling ready. And the filling is a buttercream, and I'm going to add some fruity pebbles to it. Okay, so the macarons have sat for 30 minutes, and you can see that you can touch them and they're not sticky. So we're going to put them in the oven at 290 degrees for 12 minutes. I just pulled this pan out of the oven, and I'm going to let them sit for about 5 minutes before I pull them off, or they will stick to the cookie sheet. We have our macaron shells baked, so now we're going to fill them with some Fruity Pebbles buttercream. And I'm using the buttercream that I use for cakes and macarons and just about anything. This buttercream will work. And I just flip a few shells over. And I just put a little bit in each shell. And then it's as simple as putting the tops on them and giving them a little smash and putting them in a container, which we will refrigerate for at least 24 hours so that the filling and the shell will combine, and it will make your macaron chewy and crispy at the same time. So I'm gonna finish filling the macarons with the buttercream, and if you want the recipe for this buttercream, I have another video. It's super easy to do. It takes about 10 minutes. We are finished making our Fruity Pebble macarons. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to subscribe and like and share with your friends. And join us next time. Keep baking.